Well, good morning, and welcome. This is an absolute great day for DelDOT and a great day for Delaware. I'm glad all of you could be here to help me and help the governor transfer the reign of the Department of Transportation over to our newest secretary, Shailen Bhatt. This morning, of course, we're accompanied by the governor of the great state of Delaware, Jack Markell. We're also accompanied by the administrator of the Federal Highway Administration, Victor Mendez, and I think I've seen the Secretary of State, Jeff Bullock, is here with us as well. We're pleased you could be here with us to swear in the 9th person to serve as Secretary of Delaware Department of Transportation. I had some prepared remarks, and then a colleague of mine walked into my office this morning and said that I had the pleasure to serve in the hardest job in state government. Now, I know the governor would disagree, but but I couldn't refute his claim. So as I was there and I was reading over my remarks, I said, well, what could I say? What wisdom could I give to Mr. Bhatt as he comes in and he takes on this task? And as I thought, this is what I arrived at. I said to myself, you know what, Mr. Bhatt, you have an honor that not many people in this world get, and that's the honor to lead. And the honor to lead a group as dedicated and as talented as the staff at the Department of Transportation. You'll find out as I grew to learn that the reason that our job is manageable is because our employees manage the unmanageable. And our employees make possible the impossible. And I know they look forward, as I look forward, into you to help us revitalize this great Department of Transportation. So in closing on that point, I would say this is not, by no stretch of the imagination, going to be an easy task, but it is an incredibly rewarding one. And as long as you remember that the staff at the Department of Transportation, it is a blessing and an honor to serve and to lead them, you'll be fine. With that said, before we proceed to the swearing-in portion of this morning's ceremonies, could you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now it's my pleasure and privilege to turn the ceremonies over to the governor of the great state of Delaware, Governor Jack Markell.
Thank you. Well, thank you, everybody. I want to start by thanking our Acting Secretary, Cleon Cawley, for his great leadership over these last many months. Very much appreciate it. And also appreciate the tone that you just set. And I think you're absolutely right in terms of the many talented people who are part of the DelDOT team and the honor it is for Shailen to take over. I also want to say I'm not jealous that there's more press here than there were for my inauguration, but that's okay. It is, so first of all, to all the DelDOT employees, I want to thank you and welcome you to this very important event. And most importantly, to thank you for the great work that you all do. You do have a very tough job. And I'm not sure that I would try to quibble with Cleon if he said that DelDOT's the most difficult job in state government, maybe even more difficult. Maybe even more difficult than mine at times, but I do know that there are so many dedicated, talented people who are part of this team, and I really want to thank all of you. I want to also thank Victor Mendez for coming. It's great to have you and to have Kathy here from the Federal Highway Administration. It's an honor for you to be here and to be part of this swearing in today. As well as the family and friends, to have Shailen's wife, Neelam, his mother, Mrs. Bhatt, and his in-laws, Mr. and Mrs. Patel. Great to have all of you, and you are very welcome here. We believe that as you get to know Delaware, you are going to find that we are, in fact, a state of neighbors. It's a state of 900,000 people. We know each other, we care for each other, and it's really one of the things that makes Delaware different, and it's one of the things that makes Delaware special. Our size, in fact, is our strength. And generally speaking, our residents share some basic values. They want to send their kids to great schools. They want to live in strong communities. They want to have a great quality of life. They want to have the opportunity to work at a good job, a job that they love, and they want to be able to get from one place to another quickly and safely. And transportation, in fact, touches everything that we do. We recognize across our state the critical role that transportation plays in our daily lives, and our infrastructure, in fact, is incredibly important to all of us. And we know that when the snow falls, it's going to be the DelDOT team that's out there plowing in the middle of the night when the rest of us are sleeping. The crews are out paving the highways, repairing the bridges. The planners are looking ahead toward our next most important project that enhances mobility and our quality of life. And again, to all the DelDOT employees who are committed to excellent public service, again, I want to say thank you. And I also do want to say I appreciate Jeff Bullock, our Secretary of State, coming. One of the things, and I know that Shailen has seen it already, we work together as an administration and as a cabinet and as a staff very well with each other. And Jeff, I want to thank you for taking the time to be here today, as well as many people from the governor's office. To the DelDOT team, you're getting a very good new boss. And when I began my search for a new secretary, I cast my net far and wide. And I believe that we have found in Shailen Bhatt somebody with a strong background in transportation at the local level, the state level, and the federal level. Somebody who can look at our transportation needs, our priorities, and at our fiscal reality with a fresh set of eyes, with a vision that is informed by experience at all levels of government. And importantly, somebody who can work with lawmakers, with community groups, very importantly with all of you as employees, and with other stakeholders at all levels to figure out where we need to go and how we're going to get there, while making sure that we also focus on accountability and transparency in operations. And by many measures, this is the state's largest agency. At the helm, it needs a very good listener, a good communicator, and a hard worker who above all can manage finances and people. And we believe that we found exactly that person in Shailen Bhatt. Delawareans also expect their government leaders to be responsible stewards and to keep their best interests at heart. And they expected me to appoint somebody who is going to bring this kind of value system to the role as Secretary of Transportation. A leader with energy, integrity, and experience. Somebody who's willing to work hard, somebody who's willing to take a collaborative approach, somebody who's willing to be open and ready to change, and somebody who's willing to make a decision, somebody who can look for the Air Force is as excited about this as we are. Somebody who can really, who has the vision, but who also can execute, and help, somebody who can help lead the DelDOT team so that DelDOT is all it can be. So Shailen, I thank you for your willingness to take on this challenge, and if you are ready, I am prepared to now administer the oath of office. And Shailen's wife, Neelam, and Victor, I think Victor's going to come up as well to step forward. I've taken this oath. I've actually never administered it before, so
That's my right hand here.
I always forget about which hand actually goes on the Bible. I've done it both ways. Secretary of State who knows these things says you got it exactly right. Okay. Are you prepared to take the oath?
I am.
Okay. So I, and state your name,
I, Shailen Bhatt,
do proudly swear
do proudly swear
to carry out the responsibilities
to carry out the responsibilities
of the office of
Secretary of
the Department of Transportation
Secretary of the Department of Transportation
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
freely acknowledging
freely acknowledging
that the powers of this office
that the powers of this office
flow from the people
flow from the people
I am privileged to represent.
I am privileged to represent.
I further swear
I further swear
always to place the public interest
always to place the public interest
above any special or personal interest,
above any special or personal interest,
and to respect the right
and to respect the right
of future generations
of future generations
to share the rich, historic,
to share the rich, historic,
and natural heritage of Delaware.
and natural heritage of Delaware.
In doing so,
In doing so,
I will always uphold and defend
I will always uphold and defend
the constitutions of my country and my state,
the constitutions of my country and my state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Mr. Speaker, congratulations. Mr. Secretary. Mr. Secretary. Sorry. I'll be calling Bob Gilligan immediately to apologize for that. But Mr. Secretary, congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Mendez.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Here, Neil, can you actually take this? Thank you. Thank you, Governor Markell. I didn't realize I got promoted or demoted. I'm not sure which way I would look at that. I am ready, and I am eager to serve the people of Delaware as the Secretary of their Department of Transportation to the best of my ability, and I'm ready to serve you and your administration with the able help of the entire DelDOT family. Now, while I'm on the subject of family and friends, I want to recognize a few of the people who came here to support me today. We have a good friend, Dr. Jomi Matthew from Bear, Delaware, is somewhere here. So thank you for coming out. We have Kathy St. Dennis and Kathy St. Dennis, moving around here, and Victor Mendez, a Federal Highway Administrator. We've had a wonderful time together in D.C. over the past few years serving. And I think the only downside about taking this job is the fact that I have to leave that team. But I've really appreciated working with you, and I'll be applying many of the lessons that I've learned. I also want to introduce my in-laws, my father-in-law and my mother-in-law, Mr. and Mrs. Rajnikant Patel. Mrs. Patel works for the U.S. Postal Service, and Mr. Patel is actually an engineer, and he works on tanks. And he actually worked on the A1A Abrams tank. And so from my perspective, I think that's an important job defending this country. And I think the little boy in me thinks that that's just a really cool thing to do. I also want to introduce the lady to the left is my mother, Mrs. Bhatt. Let me tell you something about my mom. My mom worked for 20 years in a radiator factory, lifting radiators from one vat of acid into another. And she worked so long and so hard that her shoulders no longer work properly. But in addition to that backbreaking work, she also had the somewhat unenviable task of raising me and my sister and running our household to a large extent. And anytime I think that I have it tough, I think of my mom's example, and I realize that probably things aren't quite as bad as I think they are. So Mom, I want to thank you for being here. My father couldn't travel here today. He is fighting a lung condition. They gave him 2 years to live 7 years ago, so I guess he's fighting pretty hard. But he sent his best wishes. And last but not least, I want to introduce my wife, Neelam. What can I say about her? She makes me a better person. And, you know, without her support, I would not be able to be here today to accept this challenge. She is an environmental scientist, and she works for the Environmental Protection Agency. And she's always thinking about her work. You know, when I first met her, I remember thinking to myself, wow, who is that? And, you know, she was thinking about her work, I think, because she said something like, federal highways, I wonder if I can get him to do some pavement research for me. So, but we're on the same page now, and we're excited to make Delaware our home. And so I'm very glad that I got the opportunity to introduce my friends and family to my new team at DelDOT. I want to say good morning, and I'm very excited to be here. You know, I realized a long time ago that you're only as good as the team that surrounds you. And so whether you're the Governor of Delaware, the Federal Highway Administrator, or a new Secretary of Transportation, you need a great team to achieve great results. Now I'm proud today to join this team. Now I understand the Governor mentioned it, that it is said that Delaware is a state of neighbors and friends. And I want all of you to know that I intend to live up to that expression. And I will do that by being someone who listens, someone who can laugh with you, someone who cares about the concerns of others, someone who is willing to pitch in when there is hard work to be done, and someone who, when it is necessary, will say things directly and tell it like it is. Make no mistake, we have a big job in front of us. You know, one of the things I have heard consistently since I began this process is that my #1 job is to, quote, restore the credibility of DelDOT. I've heard that from legislators, I've heard it from the media, and I've even heard it from some of the employees here at DelDOT. Well, I'm here to tell you today that I can't restore the credibility of DelDOT alone. But together, we can and we will. And so I am here today to ask for your help. I'm here to ask for your support, and I'm asking you to buy into this mission. Now, it will not be an easy process. Credibility is something that takes a long time to build, and you can lose it in an instant. But working together, we will take the necessary steps, and we will make the needed decisions to move this agency forward and restore the reputation of this agency that not so long ago was that of a world-class organization. So that will be our mission, to restore DelDOT to its previous form and to be a world-class organization that others look to for leadership. Let me tell you something else I've heard. Since becoming a candidate for this position, I've had a number of conversations with a number of people at the national, regional, and local level about DelDOT. You know, tell me about it. Tell me about DelDOT. What am I getting into? If I'm not going to be the speaker, I'll be the secretary, I guess. And you know, I heard something consistently throughout all of the answers. They all said, you know, they've had some challenges over there, but there are a lot of good people at DelDOT. They said, you know, they've had some challenges over there, but there's an incredible talent pool there. You know, they actually, if you look at the work that they do great things. And that was actually probably the largest factor in convincing me that this was the right opportunity, the right challenge to take. So I want each of you to know that it does not matter whether you stand behind the DMV counter, whether you drive a snowplow, whether you supervise a survey crew, or you negotiate complex and difficult land deals. This agency values who you are and what you do. And I want the state of Delaware to understand and appreciate the energy and effort that you put in every week into making this state a better place to live. Every day, every week, and every year, year after year. Now, I am proud to call myself a civil servant. I know all of you take public service very seriously as well. In my experience, civil servants are proud employees. They are proud of serving their communities, their states, and their country. When I became a deputy executive director with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet, you know, KYTC was facing some of the same challenges that DelDOT is. You know, there have been a lot of articles in the media. There had been a general consensus out there that you know, not all was well. And I remember one of the first days on the job, an engineer came to see me. Now, he was a career employee at KYTC, had gone into KYTC through the EIT, the Engineering Training Program, had been there for 20 years. And he came to see me, he was really upset. And he said, you know, my son came home from school the other day and told me, he asked me, is everything okay at work? And he said, of course everything's okay at work. Why are you asking me that? And he said, well, you know, some of the other kids were talking and they said that you might lose your job because there's some weird stuff going on at KYTC. And he was absolutely distraught at the fact that this agency that he had given his career to was being viewed in this light. And I'm sure there are people here who can relate to this story, who themselves have dedicated their career, be it short or long, to this agency, and are probably a little tired of hearing it talked about in a negative light. So that is our challenge. In order to change perceptions and get people talking about the new DelDOT team, we're going to have to do 4 things. We're going to have to act more transparently. We're going to have to be ethical in our decision making and more efficient with the choices that we make in this era of constrained resources. We're going to have to be accountable. You know, President Truman once said, the buck stops here. Well, that's true for all of us, but most importantly, the leadership at DelDOT, who must lead by example. And finally, we're going to have to measure performance. We will talk to our stakeholders to determine the kind of transportation system we want in Delaware, and then we will track our investments and our performance to ensure that they match our goals. Now, I've talked about some of the challenges. I've talked about what our approach will be. Now, let me tell you why I know we can be successful. A few weeks ago, I came up here to the DMV, and you know, I got really great service. I mean, really world-class service. Now, I'm sure some of you are thinking, of course you got great service. You're the new Secretary of Transportation. Talk about a career-limiting move. But as I was leaving, there was a lady next to me, and she said, "Are you the new guy in charge here?" And I braced myself because I thought, oh, here it comes. And she said, "I want to tell you something. I'm going through kind of a tough time right now. I've gotten the runaround from my lawyer and a bunch of other people. And when they told me I had to change my driver's license and I had to come down here and deal with all that mess, I thought it was going to be just a horrible process and an absolute nightmare. And let me tell you, those ladies back there have been absolutely fabulous. They have listened to me and they have bent over backwards to help me out. And if I was the person in charge of this place, I'd give them a raise." And I was like, what an incredible story. You know, I mean, what an incredibly motivating thing to hear. The only thing that would have been better about that is if she had said, "I'm also a reporter with this newspaper, and I'm going to write a story about this on Monday." Okay, we can ask for maybe a little too much, I guess. But I am convinced that there are other employees here who are providing that level of service. And that will be our challenge, to provide that level of service and make that the standard by which DelDOT is known. So in closing, I'd like to thank the governor again for this incredible opportunity. I'd like to thank my friends and family who have traveled here to support me today. And I want to say hello to my new team at DelDOT and ask you once again for your help and support. I think that we can do this. I think that together this is very achievable. We can do great things and we can restore the image of this proud agency. Thank you very much. Thank you. So one housekeeping item. I think that today at 2 o'clock we're going to do a meet and greet inside here. Yeah, and so I look forward to meeting as many of you as can come in. And you won't all have to crowd under the tents because it'll be air conditioning inside. And at this time I'd like to turn it over to the Federal Highway Administrator, Victor Mendez, who would like to say a few words.
Well, good morning, everyone. And thanks for inviting me to be here. It's really a great day for all of us. I've worked with Shailen, or Secretary Bhatt, for many, many years. And I can tell you at USDOT and Federal Highway Administration, we are very, very proud of Secretary Bhatt now taking over at DelDOT. Now, he laid out a great vision for DelDOT. And I really, really hope that all the employees can really buy into that vision, give them that support, because a year from now, I think all of you will be really glad that he is your new secretary. After having heard Governor Markell speak and Shailen, there's not a whole lot more I can add to the discussion here. But let me just talk about a couple of things, some observations, because I've worked with Shailen for quite a few years now. Under the Obama administration, back in Washington, D.C., as part of the Federal Highway Administration, I can tell you that Shailen was very instrumental in our success, continuing the success at the federal level with our program. Shailen, in fact, was part of my executive team at FHWA. I placed a very high level of confidence in Shailen. And I think all of you, as you get to work with him, will probably get to recognize the competency of him, the integrity. And I think at the end of the day, you're all going to be very happy that he was selected. One of the really good things that I consistently hear in my observation, and I heard it today, Shailen does listen to people. And that's a very key component as a leader in an organization, to be able to be approachable, talk to employees within an organization, and actually listen to what employees are saying. And I think what he said today was very key. He's already beginning to listen to the few employees that he's talked to already. And of course, in terms of communications, great communication skills, and always a lot of humor, which is very good, you know, when you're in these high-level positions that are high-pressure positions. So I just simply want to convey to you the attributes that I observed over the past couple of years with him. I also want to say a little bit about, reflect on what Governor Markell mentioned. He talked about the great things that make Delaware such a great state, the things that you do want to accomplish here in the next couple of years. And I can tell you at the federal level, what we talk about a lot is winning the future. And what I heard from the governor is very, very compatible with what we have been talking about, winning the future. And that's making our nation and the individual states just really a great place to live in, where the world actually looks to us for leadership, for guidance in transportation, and really the big things that make a community a community. And that's really what I heard from the governor today. So Governor, congratulations on selecting Shailen, he will be a great asset to your team. He is a great team player, and certainly you will be able to place a lot of confidence in him. And so with that, I just simply want to say it's a great honor for me to be here with the lovely wife, Neelam, the family. I'm glad to see you again. And of course, Shailen, it's been a great pleasure. Now I'm going to have to call him Secretary Shailen, and that's going to be tough for me. But Secretary Shailen, congratulations. We are all very proud of you at USDOT. Thank you all very much.